Okay, the purpose of this video is to show the size of a holder. There's a 255. What that means is generally the length from the tip of this to here is 255 millimeters. And the number on there also corresponds, if you buy a aftermarket blade, this is a 255 blade that will fit into the holder. There's all different types of holders. These are bolted on CCM Pro. There's one of the two different quick release types for CCM, I believe, and then there's one from Bauer that has a trigger on it. And anyways, on here, this 255, if I go take a big caliper here and just put it across here, it's pretty close to 255 right here, 254, 255. Now you can take another skate. This one's this is a size 6 CCM. You can take a size 5.5 here, and it'll have the same 255. So they use sometimes the same holder on a half size, larger or smaller. So the 5.5 of this vintage skate and the 6 have the same holder, but the boot is actually shorter on this. So the same holder on here is a 255. So with an unknown set of skates, this gives clues to the skate size. You could probably figure within about a half a skate size what go to a chart between this. But they don't make, when you go a half size, a lot of times they use the same size holder. So like here's one for a 6.5 skate, and it's a 263. So if I go in here, measure this, there's about 263 on there. If you go back to the older era skates, this is from, I think, from the 80s. Sometimes they put the number on the side. It'll say 11 2/3, 296 millimeters in the side of the skate. And that's an ICM. That's an old obsolete runner. And this is on a set of Ruse, I believe Kangaroo Leveler CCMs. So if I want to try to measure that on here, it doesn't necessarily correspond as well. It's supposed to be 296. I only get about 290 on there. So take that with a grain of salt. You change different brands, whatever. There's 296. It's about 11 3/8, and it says on the side 11 2/3 right there. And if you go back to the old tube skate era, on here it'll have a runner size up in here sometimes. So it says 10 1/3 inches. And if I put this onto here and onto here, you've got about 10 1/4 plus 16, so 5/16, so that's pretty close. And all that goes back to the figure skate era, when you have a blade like this with the numbers actually stamped on. Here's 10 3/4, and again that goes on the holder to the mounting area, because you're going to mount this on a boot. So there's 10 3/4 right there. And the same thing with figure skates. They may use one of these on a skate size and then a half size larger. They may use, because they don't make an infinite number of blades. So sometimes they use on used skates. I'll go through and use this as a clue. There's a 255. At first I thought that was a 6, but it's actually a 5.5. If you measure across on the boot here, you can find that is about 1/4 inch lower in size. And if I go over here and look at, here's an old CCM 2.0 LT, little guy here, I think is a size 2. This is a 22 221R. So if I go over here and put the caliper on here, I got about a 220 right here. Here's a set of Bandy skates, Reebok. It's got an E-Pro on it. 9K. This has got pretty much about a flat profile, but it has, there's a 271R. R's for right. I can come in here and take the giant caliper, go across, and it's about 260, 268, so take the numbers sort of with a grain of salt. Usually fairly close. Then over here, this is a thermal blade. These were out probably 10 years ago. It heats up on the ice, and they made these for different sizes. And there's a 263L for left skate, and there's about a 260 right there. Now, what's weird about this is I was going to actually mount this on a set of skates, 6.5, and then the offset is to where this has got about a 1/4 inch higher. This is actually almost a 1/2 inch. So when you have runners like this, some of this is not necessarily in the same plane as this. It can be where it's either bent or the way the skate is designed. Like this, there's an offset. So this plane is in a different plane than this. So you can't just necessarily take a skate, hold her off, and put it on another skate and assume it's going to work, because they've got different offsets that are on skates like that. This particular one, Thermal Blade, has a battery down in here. It's charged up through here, and then you turn it on by holding your thumb on either side, and there's a proximity sensor that kicks this on and then heats this blade up. There's a heater that's in here, and so there's some I think they're like the batteries you use in a remote control car. These are long dead, but put your fingers on here, then there's an LED that will light up, and it heats this blade up. And these have never been sharpened. These are from about 10 years ago. On here you can actually see there's the marking from when it was made. It's got a lot of flex to it. I don't know if it's as stiff as these ones that are, it's a CCM ProLite 3. ProLite actually is a name that goes back into the dark ages. They use that actually on some of these, I think, to go to the 1930s or 40s. They use the same ProLite. There's CCM here too. And this is a safety tip that's on the back of a runner. And then this is the tendon guard. Old ones from before World War, think from the mid 50s and before. Sometimes they didn't have this back on here, and then this was a plastic piece that was added. I want to say around 1960. There's a guy, famous guy, that got his tendon cut, and so they required to put this on here. So the skates have got this piece on here. This is actually fairly robust, and then the newer skates, they've gone through and made like this, and this is not as robust for like a rental skate. These tend to get broken off. People tend to pull on this because this is neck down here. It's probably more comfortable, but on lower end skates, I've seen where this breaks off right through here. So the runners, of course, the length of the runner is tied to the holder here like this. And the number here is not the length of the blade, it's the length of the holder to the mounting surfaces roughly. So it's from here to here. That number is typically what that number means here. That's a 263. So if you take another size skate, let me take a little guy here. This is a little 4. And it has a 2 238 here. And I don't know off the top of my head, they may use this on a 4.5 or a 3.5. They typically do not change a runner for each half size. So if I go here like this, there's about 250. Nope, didn't grab it right enough. So about 237, there's a 238. And I'm banging stuff around here. That's about it.